Deep breath. So, today I decided was the day I need to make an action plan. Even though I feel very safe in Singapore, even though I've been monitoring the situation very closely, it's time for me to truly figure out what this means to me and how this will affect my life. Because, as some of you may know, I am supposed to return to the States in May. So I decided, okay, it's March 20th, time for me to lay out all my options, figure out what's really going on, what is the safest course of action for me. My first step, I called the Singapore U.S. Embassy. I texted some of my friends who are American here, seeing if anyone had, any feedback on them. No one really knew. Gave them a call, tried to figure out what their advice was. They gave very governmental advice, right? Very governmental guidance. Basically telling me they couldn't tell me what to do, but recommended some resources for me. I enrolled in the STEP plan, the Smart Travelers Enrollment Program, so I'll be getting updates from the government, the U.S. government, about travel and travel advisories. And then I talked to them a little bit about what could potentially happen if my flight in May to the U.S. was canceled. They told me that I need to prepare to realize that the Singapore government may not allow me to stay past my visa, and that I can prepare a visa extension. So I've been looking into, visa extension, in which case I'll need a Singapore resident or a permanent resident to basically sponsor me. So my step 2 in the plan was put on hold. In my mind, what I still need to do is contact my current employers here and some friends here to make sure that when time comes for me to apply for an extension, if I need an extension, which fun fact I do, I will have someone who can sponsor me. Luckily, I do have some Singaporean friends who are permanent residents. I know some people, so start making those connections real. Hey guys, how much do you like me? Enough to keep me here? So my step 2 today was to trace down my insurance, figure out, if worst case scenario, I get sick, I really should know what hospital do I go to? Who do I call? Which ER is best financially for me to go to? Because testing here is free. Treatment, however, if you are not a resident or a citizen, is not. So I went onto my insurance website, checked everything, and found the 2 hospitals that I can go to that I'm covered by direct payment. So started those hospitals. I have their phone numbers saved. I know exactly where I need to go for inpatient or outpatient care. Perfect. The next thing I decided to do, step 3, was check my flight in May, seeing if there were any updates or what was going on. Well, as responsible and as ahead of the game and as good-hearted as Victoria thought she was being, I found out that 3 days ago, my flight to the United States in May was canceled. It is March. The reason it is canceled is because my flight stops through Europe. My flight goes Singapore to Frankfurt, Germany to New York City. Now, this isn't that crucial because in my mind, I was never going to go back to New York to begin with. Not going to happen. Especially when I see the spikes and everything looming. I needed to change my flight anyway, so I was going to begin to look into that. But I am glad that I looked this early because I bought myself some time. So in my mind, my next steps are contact my airline, figure out what kind of, what I know they said that they have a dedicated response team for this in Singapore, so I need to contact them and figure out what my options are in terms of switching my flight. So I know that the U.S. is not allowing anyone into Europe, or from Europe to the U.S. That's been very clear to me for a few days now. But I need to figure out what country I could fly to or what direct flight I could get on that would allow me entry back to the U.S. Now, this actually isn't that much of a priority in my mind because, yes, I need to have a plan, but no, I'm not ready to book this flight because in my mind, the priority is I need to see if I can extend my stay in Singapore. Because I would prefer to stay in Singapore for however extra long period of time I can stay. So I'm going to try and buy myself time by finding myself someone who will sponsor me, applying for the extension. The embassy recommended that I do it at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance. I am going to apply for an extension a month in advance, just in case it gets rejected, and to see if there's any sort of appeal process to make sure I do get this extension. So once I get the extension and I find out when my actual must leave by date is, I am then going to continue with the process of moving my flight and getting on a new flight back to the US. I am also trying to think a couple steps ahead, right? And think, okay, what happens then if this new flight that I book gets canceled? Is there a country that I can maybe fly to as an interim? I have some family in a couple places around the world that I'm very blessed that I could reach out to. I have some contacts that I could reach out to. Unfortunately, most of them are in Europe. But those are next steps in my mind. I also have a family reunion in Ireland in July, so if I get to that timeline, I'm thinking that maybe I'll just go straight to Ireland and, just arrive in that country early. But I do need to start monitoring that situation because I have some friends here from Ireland who have told me firsthand what it's like, but I haven't personally been monitoring the situation. So, this is my game plan. I know what I need to do. I'm going to work with my company to see what guidance they can provide me. I am then going to work with the airline. I am then going to work with the Singaporean government to get this extension. It's difficult because I'm getting a lot of guidance, which is great. But at the end of the day, you kind of got to take that guidance with a pinch of salt because no one can predict the future, and what might be true today and tomorrow may not be true in 1 month. So I think this planning is crucial, but tit for tat. I don't know what's going to happen. So just an update on my life. To anyone that's in a similar situation as me, I recommend that you start planning as soon as possible. Like I said, I'm a month and a half away from when my visa runs out, and I am already trying to think about what makes the most sense for me. So feel free to provide me any resources. If anyone else knows any additional information, I'd love to hear it. But for now, getting my game plan set, and so should you.